Libby Wimbley, Mother Hen. By Amy Cobb. Illustrated by Alexandria Neonakis. Published by Magic Wagon, a division of Abdo. Chapter 1. Where's Delia? One spring morning, Libby Wimbley slipped into her rain jacket. She tugged on her rain boots, too. Then Libby skipped all the way to the barn.
"Hi, Libby,"
Dad said.
"Would you please gather the eggs?"
Sure! Libby reached for a basket.
"Thanks,"
Dad said. So Libby headed over to the nesting boxes. "Good morning, hens," she called. "Cluck, cluck," said the hens. Libby reached into the first nesting box. The white hen with the floppy comb fluttered away. Libby pulled out an egg and carefully placed it inside her basket. A black and white hen had laid an egg in the second nesting box. Libby admired the brown speckles before gently putting it into her basket, too. Libby got to the third nesting box. That's where a red and white hen named Delia usually laid her eggs. Today, the nest was empty. Where could Delia be? Chapter 2. Chicken Checkup. "Delia, where are you?" Libby called. She looked for Delia everywhere. Delia wasn't in the doghouse or by the tractor. Delia wasn't in the hayloft either. Then Libby spotted something. Red feathers peeked out of her bicycle basket. "Delia!" Libby cried. "What are you doing in there?" "Brock!" Delia squawked. She flapped her wings, and she refused to come out. "Someone's feathers are all in a ruffle," Libby joked. Maybe Delia would come out for a treat. Libby pulled a slice of bread from her pocket. "Come on, Delia, it's your favorite," Libby coaxed. Delia turned up her beak. She didn't want a treat, and she still didn't budge. "What's wrong, Delia?" Libby asked. "Are you sick?" Libby took a closer look at the hen. Delia's eyes were bright. Her comb was full and red, and Delia didn't have a fluffy feather out of place. But still, Delia wasn't acting quite like herself today. Libby decided she'd better let Dad know. She ran to tell him. "Dad!" Libby called. "Something is wrong with Delia!" Dad followed Libby. "Brock!" Delia squawked at Dad, too. "See?" Libby said. "Maybe Delia wants to go for a bike ride." But then Libby noticed something. "Wait! Delia has made a nest in my basket! Look at all those eggs!" Libby cried. Chapter 3. Delia and Doodle.
Dad said. "Now that you mention it, I haven't gathered any eggs from Delia lately."
Just then, Doodle the rooster flew up and landed on the gate. "Cock-a-doodle-doo!" he crowed. "It's too late for crowing, Doodle," Libby frowned. "That silly rooster still doesn't know how to tell time."
Dad laughed. "Maybe Doodle's chicks will be better at telling time than he is."
"Chicks?" Libby asked. She was confused at first. But then Libby knew exactly what Dad meant. "So that's why Delia made this nest in my bicycle basket. Delia and Doodle are going to be parents." Libby jumped up and down.
That's right, Libby,
Dad smiled. Soon there would be little chicks hopping about on the farm. There was so much to do to get ready for them. But for now, Libby had to take extra special care of Delia. Chapter 4. Can't wait! Libby knew Delia had to sit on the eggs to keep them warm. That meant Delia couldn't leave her nest. At least not for very long. So Libby made sure Delia had fresh water nearby, and she put more grain near Delia's nest too. Then Libby waited and waited. After a few days, nothing had happened. How much longer until the chicks hatch, Dad? Libby asked. Dad said,
It takes about 3 weeks for an egg to hatch.
Libby did the math in her head. That's 21 days. I can't wait that long.
Those chicks will hatch before you know it,
Dad said, smiling.
Just keep an eye on Delia's nest.
Libby nodded. I will. Libby checked on Delia every day, and sometimes twice. Finally, it was time for the eggs to hatch. At bedtime, Libby said, Can we check on Delia one more time, please? Mom smiled. Again? But she and Dad agreed that Libby could. So Mom, Dad, Libby, and her little brother Stuart all headed to the barn. Chapter 5. Extra Special Delivery. When they got there, Delia was sitting on her nest, same as usual. Looks like the chicks still haven't hatched, Mom said. Libby was disappointed. Dad patted Libby's shoulder.
It's okay, Libby. It shouldn't be much longer now.
The next morning, Libby ran to the barn first thing. She looked inside her bicycle basket. Still nothing, Libby sighed. But then Libby heard something. Very softly, there was one little peep, and then another. Libby ran to get Mom, Dad, and Stuart. The eggs are hatching! Libby cried when everyone had gathered around. But how do the chicks get out of that hard shell? Stuart wondered. I know, Libby said. They have a tiny egg tooth. In a few days, the chicks will lose their egg tooth because they don't need it anymore. Right, Dad? Dad nodded.
You're right.
Pretty soon, the sound of lots of little peeps filled the barn. A few chicks even peeked out from beneath Delia's wings. Aw, they're the cutest chicks ever, Libby said.
Cock-a-doodle-doo!
Doodle crowed from the gate. Doodle! Libby smiled. Congratulations, you're a dad! Congratulations to you too, Libby, Mom said. Me? Libby looked confused. Why? Because you've taken such good care of Delia and her chicks. You're officially a mother hen, Mom said. Cluck, 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 Libby joked, and everyone laughed.